is. Thought I'd be stuck in the static forever, telling myself it could be enough. I didn't know that I was looking for something to jump until I jumped into us.
Off-camera flash is an amazing tool for photographers, especially when you photograph people. Being able to control the quality, the direction, the intensity and the colour of the light on your subject, independent of your background, is a fantastic thing to be able to do. It allows greater versatility and also allows you to tell the story of your image so much more clearly.
Something to lose, baby, all I need is give me something that I could lose, baby.
Now you can start with cheap as chips speed lights, or you can use more powerful strobes. I've used both in this video, so you'll see the results that we get from both.
All I need is you. Every time you touch me, I swear that I see the future in everything you do. Kinda like it came right out of the clouds, like a storm full of colors in my room.
When we shoot indoors or in the studio, we're able to move our lights wherever we want to. We use off-camera flash all the time in the studio because it allows us to light our subject in a number of different ways. We can light them from various different angles, we can light them from a different height, we can play around with that light to make our subjects look as good as we want them to, or to achieve the goals of the image that we're looking for.
With every move, you give me something to lose, baby, all I need is.
This allows us to make our subjects look good and also to improve the impact of that image, to make it stand out, to make our subject stand out against that background. Outdoors we can use off-camera flash, but the possibilities are extended even further. We can independently control the light on our subject and our background quite easily. When we're outdoors, we've got a range of different backgrounds, different locations, different lighting conditions that we can use off-camera flash in. We can soften the light using umbrellas or soft boxes. We can also use hard light if we want to, if that suits the circumstances that we want.
Didn't know that I was looking for something to jump until I jumped into us. Now I'm wrapped up and you can't deny it. Hit me like a hurricane of lightning. Baby, if I'm dreaming, don't you wake me up. Need you in my lungs.
A crucial element in off-camera flash is the connection between the camera and the flash. We need some way of firing that flash in synchronization with our camera. There are various different methods you can use, but generally the most popular and the most reliable is to use radio triggers. Now this is the sort of radio trigger that I use. This little unit fits on my hot shoe of my camera and sends a radio signal to my flash, wherever it's placed, or my flashes, and fires them in synchronization with my camera shutter. So it allows me to put my flashes anywhere I want to, and this little unit will, by radio waves, fire those flashes in synchronization. Now you can get smaller ones or cheaper units like this, or you can get much more expensive ones. These units are better for me because they're quite cheap. They're around about $50 each. Because I need to have a number of them. I need 15 or 20 of these little units for when I'm doing workshops or when I'm doing classes. My students need to have these radio triggers. So if I was spending $800 on a trigger, buying 15 or 20 of them would be a little bit more difficult. This is the first of a series of off-camera flash videos that I'll be uploading. This shoot takes place at Valentine, which is close to my home. Our model is Indy. I'll be showing you various different ways to use on-camera and off-camera flash, and I'll be using various different flash units as well. So have a look at this. I'm sure you'll learn a lot about off-camera flash.
Take me on a trip around the moon. You add shooting stars to all my blue. I'm falling in love with every move. You give me something to lose, baby. All I need is. Thought I'd be stuck in the static forever, telling myself it could be enough. I didn't know that I was looking for something.
G'day. We're down here at Valentine in Newcastle, Australia, to do an off-camera flash shoot with our model, Indy. Basically, when we're talking about off-camera flash, that's our flash moved away from our camera. Often when you've used flash in the past, you've had your flash on your camera, but moving the flash away from the camera has certain advantages. Basically, the off-camera flash allows us to get some shape into our subject. It allows the light to come from the side or any other direction so that we can control not only the intensity of the flash, the intensity of the background, but we can also change how the light's falling on our model. It allows us to show shape and texture rather than have the light directly on the front of the model, which is quite a flattering sort of light to use. It allows us to move around to the side and have that light coming from the side. We need to be careful with the way that the light's hitting our model's face. If we have our model facing forward and we have our light coming from the side, we'll get that split lighting, which isn't particularly good. We get one side of her face is bright and the other side is dark. So generally speaking, we would turn her face towards the light, where the light's coming from, so that we get that nice frontal or Rembrandt light on her face. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of shots first with the available light to show you the limitations of using available light in a location like this. Then I'm going to do a couple of shots with on-camera flash to show you the difference that that makes. And then we're going to move our flash off camera. We're going to start with our speed lights. We're going to use just a single speed light, both on the camera and off the camera. We've got a couple of issues when we use speed lights. The first one is that the light is fairly hard. It's a small light source, so we need to be fairly careful about how the light falls on our model. The second one is that we're fairly limited in power. The power of a speed light is fairly great when you're indoors or when you're in a dark situation, but when you're in a bright sunlit situation, the speed lights often struggle to have the effect that we want them to. So that's why we're in this shaded area, because the lower light level allows our speed light to have enough power to show in our shot. So we'll do a couple of shots and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, Indy, we're just going to do a shot with available light here. I'm going to just shoot you in this position. Now, the reason why we've got Indy in this spot is because the sun's in behind her. One of the basic rules of shooting people outdoors, particularly when you're shooting available light, is that we don't want that sunlight in their face. We want to get that sunlight behind them so that it highlights their hair. You can see how Indy's hair is backlit from that light. And I'm going to shoot her in the soft light that's coming down on the front of her. So we'll do a couple of shots like that and I'll show you. Okay, Indy, lovely, just looking straight at the camera. Great, just turn your face a little bit that way for me. Yep, eyes to me. Okay. All right, terrific. Now you can see those shots look okay, but the problem is that the position that we're in here, most of the light is coming directly down because we've got high trees on both sides of us. So that light coming down from above means that Indy's eyes are fairly dark. We need to have an available light situation where we've got lower light coming in. We've got soft light coming in, but at a lower angle. We just don't have that at this location. So that's one of the limitations of using available light in this sort of situation. Now I'm going to put my flash on my camera just to punch a little bit of light into Indy's face so that her face lights up and her eyes are nice and lit. Now I'm going to shoot Indy with a little bit of flash. I've got my speed light on top of my camera. It's set to 1/8 power, which should give me just enough light to light her without making it too obvious that it's a flash shot. Okay, here we go, Indy. Lovely. Just turn your shoulders that way for me a little bit. Yeah, that's it, eyes to me. Great, thank you. You can see the difference that makes, that on-camera flash. A lot of photographers say that on-camera flash is a waste of time and it's no good, but it's a fantastic tool to anybody who wants to shoot portraiture. Now, when we're using flash, there are a couple of basic rules that we need to follow. Very important rules. As soon as you put your flash on your camera, you need to know these things. The first rule is that we're limited with our shutter speed. We need to keep our shutter speed below our flash synchronization speed, which tends to be about 1/200th of a second or 1/250th of a second. So I'm shooting on 1/160th of a second, 1/160, to allow my flash to synchronize with my camera. The second rule, most important rule of flash photography, is that your camera settings, your aperture and your shutter speed, determine what your background looks like, because your flashlight is not going to get to your background. It just doesn't travel that far. So your camera settings, your ISO, your aperture and your shutter speed will determine how bright your background is. Your flash power determines the light on your subject. So if I take a shot and Indy's too dark, I simply need to turn the power up on my flash. I use my flash on manual because it's by far the simplest way to do it, and it's by far the most controllable. So I just turn my flash up a little bit to brighten Indy. My background doesn't change because my camera settings determine my background. So you can see the difference in these shots that we took with Indy, with the flash on camera. Now we're going to move the speed light off camera and show you the difference that makes. Turn your body this way a little bit. Yep, turn your face back to that shoulder. Yeah, great. Here we go. Okay, that's good. I'm just going to do a full length shot. Just get down a little bit. Look very unattractive me down here, but that's the way it is. Okay, now you can see the difference that makes, having that flash off camera. We can see that there is a highlight and a shadow side to Indy. We get the shape in her shot. We get the shape of her figure. We get nice light on the front of her face. Now, a couple of things we need to think about when we're posing a model and when we're shooting a model with off-camera flash or on-camera flash or any other way. We need to make sure that her face is turned towards that light. That's the first thing, because we want to get nice light on her face. We need to be careful about how close we get to our model. If we get too close to her, then we need to use a wide angle on our zoom, which is going to distort her a little bit. I'm standing about 4 meters from Indy, which should be the ideal situation. I can get a waist-up shot, a head shot, or a full-length shot reasonably well. Now, when I do a full-length shot, you notice that I crouch down to do it. It's not an easy thing for me to do because I'm an old man, but getting down low just gives that perspective to Indy that makes her look a little bit taller, a little bit more elegant, and it just makes that shot look a little bit more fashiony. So there are a few things that you need to think about when you're shooting models, whether it's off-camera flash or on-camera flash. Now I've moved the flash stand around a little bit further. It's about 90 degrees to Indy from where I am, from where my position is. So that light's going to be a little bit more radical across the shot and across Indy. So I need to make sure that I get her to turn her face towards that light. Now it's going to be hard for her to look at me if she does that, so I want her just to look out in that direction, and you'll see the difference moving that flash around to the left-hand side makes. Okay. That's it. Maybe put your hands down behind your back, Indy. Yep. Turn that face to your shoulders a little bit more. Yep. That's it. And your face around too. A little bit away from me. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Terrific. That light's a little bit more angular on Indy, but using off-camera flash, we can do that. We can change the position, change the direction of our flash to suit the purposes of the shot. In this next section, I'm shooting towards the west, towards that setting sun. I'm including the sun in some of my images, and that western sky is very bright. So my speed lights really don't cut it in that situation. They can't give me enough light on my subject to be able to control the tone of that background. So I'm switching to a high-powered unit. This is a 600-watt studio strobe, but it's battery powered, so I can take it out on location. That allows me to flood my subject with lots of light, and that means I can reduce my aperture down to control my background to a certain extent. I'm never going to get detail in that sun itself, but I may be able to get a bit of colour in that western sky by intensifying the light that's on my subject. I'm also using a 120 centimetre softbox on this 600-watt flash because I want to soften that light. I want soft quality of light on Indy. I don't want the really hard light that I would get if I just used the flash unit on its own. So that does take a little bit of power away from my large flash, but it's still sufficient to be able to get the exposure that I need and to be able to control my background. Now what I'm doing now is I'm hiding that very bright sun and the trail on the water in behind the pole that Indy's standing beside. That allows me to get less lens flare when I shoot and allows me to get that front light working a little bit easier. So we'll do it once again. Just keep that hair back into you. Okay, here we go. That's good. And we'll do a full length shot. Okay, here we go. All right, terrific. You can see the difference that makes, having that really nice blue sky in behind Indy so that we can get some detail in there. We've got a few seagulls flying around too. I'm going to try and get some of them in the background. All right, so what we're going to do here, Steve, we're going to light Indy with your light from there. Yep, we're going to get that nice curved coastline in the background. But the problem we've got is that there's quite a lot of sunlight on Indy and on her face as well. We want to try and get rid of that because any flash that we have is not going to get rid of that. It's just going to superimpose on top of it. So we're going to get Sachin to hold our softbox up just like a blocker. And that's going to block that light on Indy to make it nice and soft. Then we're going to add the flashlight to it. That's great, Sachin. Okay, here we go, Indy. That's it. Okay. Lovely. Okay, one more. Yeah. Okay, just play with your hair a little bit. Maybe pull some hair forward. Yeah, that's it. Great. Here we go. All right, terrific. So you can see with a little bit of thought, you can use whatever you've got to help to get the shot that you want. We want to try and, as much as we can, to keep that bright sunlight off Indy, particularly on the front of her, because that's what we're going to have a problem with. All right, so we've extended that concept to make it a little bit more difficult for my assistants and my model. We're going to have Indy up on this table, on this picnic table, so that I can shoot her in that yellow dress against that really big blue sky, which is going to give us those complementary colours, and it's really going to stand out. The same situation we had before, we don't want that sunlight on Indy, so we're going to have Steve hold the softbox up to block that sunlight, and we're going to have Sachin hold up our flash so that we get that light coming down on Indy. Because she's up higher, we need to get our light up even higher. We don't want that light to come up onto her face, we need it coming down. So that's what we're going to do here. Now that that sun is getting closer to the horizon, it drops in intensity. Because it's coming through a lot more atmosphere, it does a couple of things. It drops the intensity of it, and it also makes the light warmer, because the particles in the atmosphere filter out the blue wavelength of that light, and it becomes a little bit redder and a bit warmer light. So it's great light to use. Because it's less intense, we can use our softbox on our flash. This is going to give us a larger, softer light that is a little bit more flattering to Indy, so we're going to do that. Now every time we put a softbox or any modifier on a flash, it will drop the power down, so that we need to get a little bit closer or open up our aperture a little bit more to get our exposure working okay. So that's what we're going to do now. I've opened up to f8, we can still get detail in that sky in the background, and we're going to use the softbox to light Indy. Okay, that's good, perfect. Okay, now, Indy, if you can get further across that way. Sachin, you stay where you are, just turn the light towards her. That's it, feet apart, just that hip out a little bit. Yep, that's great. Okay, here we go. Good. Okay, that wind's working really well for us. Yep, tilt your head up, look out that way, yeah. Good, more, yeah. Tilt it downwards a little bit. Okay, here we go, here comes the seagull. Ah, got him in the shot. Perfect.
Take me on a trip around the moon. You something to lose. Baby, all I need is. Thought I'd be stuck in a static forever, telling myself it could be enough. I didn't know that I was looking for something to jump until I jumped into us.